In this video we're going to look at how to make a FTIR graph from data that's in a CSV file. So from your CSV file you'll have two columns like this, an A column and a B column. And what you want to do first of all is insert some lines above. So I'm going to insert some blank spaces above. Okay, maybe another one. Insert. And on this insert at the top, what you need to do is say what it is that you're looking at. What is your file? What is your sample? So I'd write a sample description here. Down this side here, the first column you've got looks to me like it's a wave number. So I'm going to write wave number, and it's centimeters to the -1. So that's my first column. And I'll make the column wider so it gets that full description, and I'll go up the top here and center it. So now I've got wave number, and down here I've got absorbance. I think that's what we've got here. Right, so the wave number is done at the moment, it's in scientific form or standard form, and that's not the way we normally show it on infrared. So I'm going to block the whole column, go right down to the bottom. I'm going to change the format, so it's something that we can recognize more easily. So I block the column, I right click, format cells, and then go to, it's on number at the moment, on here. It says scientific at the moment, so I'm going to go to number instead, and just say decimal places, we'll say 0, and we'll say OK. And now it's a bit more clear. You can see that centimeters to the -1 wave number. This absorbance here, we'll change that as well. We might change it again at some point, but we'll just make it to being a number as well, I think. But we might have to specify the decimal places. Now if you look right at the end of the absorbance, it suddenly goes to 0 for the last reading. So your graph is going to look a bit unusual because it's going to be smaller and go to 0. This last ones you need to delete. So we'll delete those in a moment. We'll sort the formatting for this first. Format cells, it's on, go to number, decimal places. Now I'm not sure how many we'll need. Let's put 4 and say OK. Yeah, that's about right. That looks about right. Center it. So we've now got wave number and absorbance. Go down to the bottom, let's delete that last data point. Delete. Okay. Go back up to the top, and we're almost ready. Now on the graph, normally the absorbance is the y-axis and the wave number is the x-axis. So that fits in this data set. X is this first column, y is the second column. So what we're going to do is we're going to block it. Just block the data, go all the way down. There is a shortcut way of doing this, but I can never remember what that is. Go down to the bottom, we've blocked it. We then go to insert, and we're going to insert a chart, and it's a scatter one we want. And we don't actually want to show the data points on this because there's so many data points. We want to just show the line. So there's a choice really. We either go for a curved one or we go for joining up by straight lines. So it's up to you. Let's see. Well, I'm going to put the curved one on first. Let's see. That looks fine. So there is your graph, your infrared graph, going from wavelength of 0 all the way to 4000. Now you'll notice something about this graph, and that is that usually on the infrared graph, instead of going from 0 to 4000 from left to right, you go from right to left. So we're going to change that now. So we're going to click on the box for the bottom. Then we're going to right click it, format axis, and down here it's got values in reverse order. So let's click that, get the values in the reverse order, and then that's good. Going to close that little box down. So now normally we go up to 4000 and we start actually at 400. we'll leave it from 0, but let's not make it go to 4,500. Let's click that box again, right click it, format access. We have to repeatedly do this, and we'll start instead at 4,000. Well, the maximum is 4,000. There we go. So now we've got the infrared graph. Here you can now see that this one here, it goes all the way up to 0.3, and I think, looking at that data there, that on this graph you don't need to show 0.3000. So I'm going to change this graph, and I'm going to change it so that it just specifies 2 decimal places. So I'm going to click it, left click it to get the box around the numbers, right click it, format axes, and then down here there's number, click the number, go a bit down, it says decimal place is 4, so we're going to make this 2. There you go, and it's a bit easier to read now. You'll notice something else about the graph now. It goes from positive number 0.3 but down to negative 0.05, so there must have been a few data points that went below the line, but we're going to just set it between 0.3 and 0. So I'm going to click that box again, left click it, right click it, format axis, and then the minimum is going to be 0. There we go. That's looking a bit more like the graph that we need. So there's some other things that we need to think about. So we need to put in the labels for each of the axes. So click in the graph, go to design, quick layout, and it's this box down here, I think, that gives you the axes. What does that do? Yeah, well, that thing that gives it a little, it's a grid. There we go. There's the axes. So now here, click there, delete the axis, the word axis title, and let's write wave number, centimeters to -1, and then go to axis title here, and that is absorbance. Now, in actual fact, on the infrared spectra, sometimes they don't show the scale on the absorbance. Okay, so there's your spectra. Now, this series 1, there is only one graph, so I'm going to delete that box, and there's my spectra. And the thing is, with this one, it's easy to read now. I'll check it, because it's going up. Can you see 100, 200, 300, 400, 500? It's only going up in hundreds. So some people make things go up in numbers like going up in 80, 160, something like that, because they've not checked the boxes on the grid marks. Make sure that the grid marks something that makes the graph easy to read. So there's your graph. I'll go down in magnification. Now, this graph is good to go with that. It's like that. Sometimes it's also good to show 2 graphs and one maybe an expanded view. So I'm going to just copy this graph, right click, copy, I'm going to go underneath it, I'm going to go paste, there we go. But this time I'm going to go up to just 2000, so I've left clicked that bottom, format axis, let me make it go to 2000, whoops. Okay, and now because the area on this particular graph, we were particularly interested in something around 1500, then this graph shows just about everything we need to show that around 1500 plus these other peaks here, which are the phosphate peaks. I think that's it. Just remember one thing, and that is when we come to put this graph into Word, then we need to do it in a special way. So if I have a look, and let's do it in a special way. Another thing to do is really these blue lines, change the blue lines should really be black. So just have a little look at that. There's a paint box over there, fill and line. The line should be a solid line. Complex formatting, yes, we'll carry on, and we'll do black. And now it's changed to black. So usually in reports, rather than having colour, we have things in black. The other thing is, there are other things on here which you can do. For example, this appears to be in grey, and you might want to change this this text to black so it's easier to read. That doesn't seem to work. Yeah, that was black. That is black, I think. Yeah, that is already black. So yeah, that's good. So let's open this Word document. So I'm going to do that. An internal error has occurred. Okay, that's not very helpful. We'll go and have a look. I'll open up a Word document. So we're going to open up our Word, we'll go back to the Excel. There's our graph. Click in the graph, and one thing you need to do when you export it is it's got an outer line around this graph. You'll need to get rid of the outer line. So if you click in the graph, you'll see the word border, say no line, and then the line will have gone. This is important for when you put it into Word. Click the graph again, right click, copy, go into Word. Now this time go to paste, but don't just Control V, you must go into paste with a picture. This means you can't edit it once it's in Word, but it means that Word won't actually edit it whilst you're using it. So there's a graph. I might want to center it a little bit, and there it is. So now it's in Word. But remember, when you put it into Word, paste and then paste it as a picture. Okay. So that's it. So this is your graph. This is an FTIR graph. This is how to do it. On another video, I may be able to show how to stack them, but in actual fact, stacking them is very similar to when we stack them in XRD. The difference is that you need to think a little bit about offsetting, and in this particular case, if I was stacking another similar spectra, I might offset all the y-axis, the absorbance, by 0.15 so that nothing overlapped. So the next graph would be sitting just above it, but not on the 0. You'd offset it, you'd add 0.15 to all your values, and then it would be sitting higher up. Hope you've enjoyed that, and hope you can get on and successfully make some graphs.